Hey, is that a new TF2 mod that's built off the original inspirations and tones? Ah. Hi guys. So, TF2 Classified was released onto Steam a while back, and I debated on whether or not I should make a review on it like I did with Gold Rush. And finally, I've decided to go through with that. That's why you're seeing this video now. Well, there's no better place to start than the menus. And the visuals are great, in most cases. Same thing goes for things like the UI. Hey, I can actually search for shit in the options menu, go figure. The main menu panoramas are really pleasing to look at, being a blend of 2011 TF2 and the menu used for the console ports. And it all looks really, really good. And here is where I have to add a small asterisk onto that point, because sometimes you get loading screens that look like this. Is he meant to look like he's staring into the depths of my soul? And hey, would you look at that? Redesigned server browser. I don't have a problem with the regular server browser, but I could definitely see how it could be confusing to new players, and really appreciate the accessibility setting. Unfortunately, for a large majority of the time, the custom browser just refused to work, so I ended up just using the default one for most of my time. Now that we're on the topic of the server browser, let's go over the servers. Some of you have probably noticed that there are both verified and unverified servers. Now, what does it mean to be verified? Well, you follow the developers of the mod's vague rules that will and likely have led to draconian moderationship. But we'll get more on that later. Put a pin in that. One of the great things about this mod, and really any mod for that matter, is that all of the servers run the pre-meet your match rule set, which means being able to switch teams, team scramble, 45-minute round timer, and no Tabuscus doors slamming in your face telling you it's time to leave. You know, it's almost like people want to play quickly for longer periods of time. Now that we've properly acquainted ourselves with the server browser and have found ourselves a lovely server, we can get into the real meat and bones of the game. And again, the visuals are really, really nice. I especially noticed it on maps like Powerhouse. Here you can have a comparison between the base game, something like Gold Rush, and now Classified. Not only do the maps look nice, but a lot of the custom-made maps for the mod also fit in well with TF2's stylization, theming, and tones. Glad to know at least someone's keeping things consistent around here. And who could forget that arsenal of new weapons? Each class has at least 2 unique custom weapons to choose from, along with the readily available stock options we all know and love. Except for you. Let's start off talking about new weapons with the class that got the coolest unlock, Scout's Nail Gun. As seen in pre-release footage, it's essentially a syringe gun placed into the Scout as a prime. Nah, who am I kidding? What everybody and their mother is raving about, it's the fucking brick, baby. Let's go, I'm already getting bricked up just bringing it up. Who could deny the raw power of this heated clay baby? It's okay. The brick is, for all intents and purposes, a reskin of the cleaver from the base game, but without the bleed damage and it mini-crits on Moonshot. It's quite satisfying watching it smack someone, but, you know, it's hardly revolutionary in terms of playstyles. Up next is Soldier, who received 2 custom weapons, that being the creatively named RPG, and the Admiralty Anchor. The RPG fires a single slower shot in an arc with 30% more damage. In practice, it's a direct upgrade from stock. It does way more damage, the arc's not a huge factor, the reload speed is fast enough to cancel most of the downsides of having one round. It's like if the Beggar's Bazooka and the direct hit got super drunk, rubbed their rockets together, and had a mutant tentacled baby Cthulhu would look at sideways. Needless to say, it could probably use a more substantial downside because as it is now, you can really just spam it down a choke point and just get free value out of it. In the melee slot is the Admiralty Anchor, and, hey, remember how in the Steam description the mod stated it was built off the original inspirations and tones? Yeah, this weapon just sort of throws it out of the window. Tell me, why would the shell-shocked war veteran pick up a boat anchor? And what part of boat anchor is tied into the soldier's character? Mechanically, it's a combination of the man-treads and the market gardener. You've essentially took two separate weapons and mashed them into one. Why? Hey guys, this is me from the editing booth here. I just wanted to say that I feel the RPG isn't really the biggest offender here in terms of power scaling, although I didn't feel a need to ever swap off it back to stock, and that pretty much goes for most of the unique weapons, the custom weapons that were added. They're all pretty much direct upgrades to stock, and that's kind of antithetical of what the mod was going for. And rounding out our offensive classes is Pyro. Game changer here isn't really his new weapons, but rather the changes to his flamethrower. Pyro's flame particles have been, well, changed, and they feel
slower than molasses drips off a spoon.
Trailing behind your aim and just feeling wrong. I swear, they swapped out his fuel from napalm to maple syrup. It's that sluggish. Pyro in general just feels like an incoherent mess. Same goes for his new weapons. Twin Barrel? It's just a force of nature with one shot slapped onto his secondary slot. Is it good? Sure. Why is it on Pyro? And then there's the Harvester, which is a weirdly normal-looking scythe that leeches health from burning targets and stores a crit, but with the downside of all your afterburn being extinguished upon your death. Certainly more creative than the Twin Barrel, but I still have to ask, why? I mean, sure, it does keep within TF2's melee weapon theme of improvised arms, quite literally for the heavy, but what part of farming tool fits into the Pyro, characteristically wise? Pyro's just an incoherent mess, man. Now, if Soldier and Pyro didn't make you at least raise an eyebrow slightly, Demo Man is where our first real cracks start to show in these weapons. Someone on the dev team is definitely a Demo Main. Having 4 weapons in total, sharing the gunboats with Soldier, and 3 unique custom weapons, one of which was so cancerous that after a few weeks the devs had to nerf. In the primary slot are the aforementioned gunboats, and also the Cyclops, which works like a sort of inverse loose cannon, giving the player more agency on when their pipe explodes. Combos nicely with the first secondary replacement, the Dynamite Pack, as the Cyclops detonates any of your stickies. You can rack up combo kills with the Dynamite Pack, as when you smack someone directly with it, it'll slow them down for a small window. But why have creative synergy when you can just turn whatever brain cells you have left off and use the mine layer? this thing was fucking busted up the ass! I mean, sure, you only had 4 mines out at once, but it doesn't matter when they self-detonate. You can just turn your brain off and the mines will do all the work for you. It's worse than the Scorch Shot. Thankfully, Heavy returns us to the pattern of having 2 custom weapons and an additional weapon brought over from the base game. Starting off is the anti-aircraft cannon, the short-range explosive minigun that mini-crits any airborne targets. Does this differ from how you would normally play Heavy?
No.
You still rev up and fire, but it's also an explosive projectile. And in that sense, the AA cannon also doesn't feel like a heavy weapon at all. It turns the Heavy into a sort of short-range soldier with higher health and none of the movement tech. And then there's the Chekhov's punch. It's a melee weapon that stores a crit upon hit, but also you take critical hits from melees as well. It's like a worse KGB and inherits most of its issues. You, the slowest walking refrigerator on the battlefield, first have to waddle up to somebody, slap them on the cheeks, and then either A, pray they don't see you, or B, pray to Gabe you don't get crit back and die instantly, because you're in a melee fight now around an entire team. Or some random goober you've managed to corner on a flank or somewhere. It's overall just mediocre. Also, the sandwiches there? It's the sandwich. There's not much to say. It's slightly weaker than it is in the regular game, and that's about it. Now, can we be real here for a second? Let's just have a chat. Why does every mod so far just hate Engineer? Take Gold Rush, for instance. Engineer just got the Frontier Justice and a neutered Wrangler. Classified has a similar deal. Engineer has jump pads that replaces teleporters and a pistol replacement that gives you an overload jump that also fires a slow projectile. And what else? Let's see here. How about an Engineer Wrench unlock that lets him be more self-sufficient with lower ammo packs? How about shotgun replacement that lets him put more emphasis on himself in defense? How about none of those? It's nice to have movement on Engineer, but is that seriously it? I'm not saying these options are necessarily bad, but come on, people, we have a super high-tech Texan. Can we come up with something that shakes up his playstyle a bit more? All his unlocks is just movement Engineer. I mean, what about everything you get in the base game? Rescue Ranger unlocks the ability for you to spread out your buildings more, become a more active and mobile Engineer. Jag lets you become relentless. Eureka Effect lets you jump scare people. I mean, the list goes on and on. This is just disappointing. The shotgun, because this fucking ray gun does jack shit.
Seriously?
It does like 75 damage at maximum charge.
What the fuck?
And that's without drop off. It moves slow.
Okay, so yeah, here's the fucking problem, is I would think this would get utility out of being both a movement and a pester tool, but it does the pester thing worse than the pistol.
Yeah.
And then
because
for CQC defense, like, the pistol does more damage.
And because it's a projectile, right?
Yeah.
You can only fire one at a time.
Really?
Yeah, this thing sucks dick. It's really fucking
really
bad.
The only value at that point, why not just give you a jump weapon? Like, it doesn't do any damage. At that point, right? If the ray gun is
cool,
gonna be just
29 damage at medium range.
ineffective.
I'd rather have the Righteous Bison right now.
Ooh, that's bad.
I mean, this practically is the Righteous Bison.
Does it do, like, damage to people?
No.
Oh. Yeah, you kind of lose that part. That's even worse.
It's a shittier Righteous Bison.
Ow.
Finally, let's round out our last triage of classes with our favorite German doctor. Medic has technically 3 custom weapons and the Kritzkrieg. And to get it out of the way, let's just talk about the Kritzkrieg. It's been redesigned. Do I think the Kritzkrieg needed to be redesigned? No. But now that it has been within this mod, I don't really like it that much. It's not that good. The strange nozzle at the front makes it look more like one of those pastry filling bags, you know, the types of ones that's got like and also the Medibeam just, it looks like it had a stock lightning asset slapped onto it. I know it's probably to make it stand out more from stock and differentiate it. It just looks bad. And the other Medigun replacement is the Rejuvenator, which is a healing grenade launcher. It's a bit clunky to use. Sometimes the weapon would seem to eat my mouse input with the reload animation, which I thought was strange. The Ubercharge is also sort of strange. It's a combination of the Quick Fix and Vaccinator, where if you know how to use it, it's absolute aids to fight against, and like the Quick Fix is great for stalling pushes on defense. It works in sort of like a way the Gunner's shield would work in Deep Rock Galactic, but instead of a resistance while under it, like in DRG, it's full Ubercharge for everyone inside it, including the medic himself. He can even swap off his Medigun. And overall, it just feels like it was plucked straight out of a completely different game. And then you have Medic's melees, which you have the Uber Spritz, which is just the Uber Saw and the Vita Saw mashed together, and then the Shock Therapy, which is the stock Bone Saw and the Crusader's Crossbow, but you build up damage and healing with Uber percent. Hey guys, this is another side note. I just wanted to talk a bit. All of the melee weapons seem to be just derivatives from the base game. Not all of them, but most of them. Like the Anchor's just a match between the Mantreads and the Market Gardener. The Uber Spritz, like before, is just a mashup between the Uber Saw and the Vita Saw. The Shock Therapy is pretty original, although it is just kind of a melee version of the Crusader's Crossbow. And then the Fishwhacker is like a weird cross between the Trivalman's Shiv with Knockback. I think really the only purely new in terms of a weapon idea is the Harvester for the Pyro. Which is kind of lame. Well then, let's move on to our next class. What class we have up next? Don't make me do this. Run from it. Hide from it. He'll headshot you regardless. The Sniper class. Let's start off with the positives first. The devs gave the 2 sniper rifles tracer rounds, which does help in identifying the Australian who is going to remove all the fun from your game. So that's at least nice. And as well as having access to the Huntsman offers a style of play to the sniper that doesn't infuriate me. Another thing, with the stock rifle, the devs slowed it down. There's now a delay between when you can trigger a headshot, which opens up the gate for you to actually engage in battle against the sniper. And his custom melee weapon is the Fishwhacker, which we've touched on before. It does significantly reduce damage, moderate knockback, for a grand total of 2 seconds of bleed! In the grand scheme of things, is pretty inconsequential. If you get up into the face of a sniper, they should die. I say should because that's not always the case. Now, remember how I just said all that stuff about slowing Sniper down, allowing for actual counterplay? Well, we have the hunting revolver. On the surface, you know, it looks fine, having lower damage headshots. Yeah, that's some good balancing. What the fuck is this? This thing just removes Sniper's balancing factors entirely. Not having a scope to zoom in might look like a downside, but it just removes Sniper's tunnel vision, one of his balancing factors, allowing for him to have total and complete vision and movement around the battlefield. On top of that, he gets an extra 25 health, and with a gun that can fire 6 shots faster that reload all at once. I want to know who thought this up and said, yeah, this is totally balanced. At least with the stock rifle, there's a slight delay. And I mean slight delay between shots, so the sniper can't just fucking shit out constant headshots. But with this fucking thing, the devs went out of their way to nerf the sniper, slow him down, to make counterplay exist, and why in all that is crispy and crunchy freaking hell did you give Sniper a weapon that just completely nullifies the nerfs you put onto the stock rifle? What, dear viewer, do I have to ask? What's the point in all of this? We've completely gone one step forward and then just took it back. What the fuck are we thinking? I'm gonna have a fucking brain aneurysm. I tested this thing twice on both a heavy and a light class. Now, I might not be the best sniper, but in the hands of a very experienced sniper, this thing is fucking AIDS to fight against. Let's just move on now. I've calmed down. Let's go over Spy. He's doing okay, I guess. The knife gets a blood decal, like from Meet the Spy, after a backstab, which is neat. And the lack of spawning wall hacks increases your chance of not getting caught. Thanks for that one, Valve! And for custom weapons, he has 2 again. The Le Scampette, I think that's how you call it, is, in my opinion, what the Dead Ringer should have always been, with a smaller cloak meter, but giving the Spy higher speed while under cloak. It's really fun, I actually quite like it. And then there's the Tranquilizer Gun. Oh boy, I sure do love shooting slow-moving projectile weapons that make my enemy screen monochromed. Seriously, I don't understand. I can't think of one scenario in where this works. Not one. Why do all of that work when I could either just stab the bastard or just pull out my regular revolver and shoot the fucker? You know, overall, I think with the brought back beta features, you know, like the nail gun on Scout, the tranquilizer gun for Spy, there's a very clear reason on why Valve abandoned these ideas. I could just do that, but I could just go stab, stab, stab.
Well, because you have a tranquilizer gun, Gavin. Don't you understand? You have a tranquilizer gun.
Yeah, but I'd rather have regular gun.
But, Gavin, you have a tranquilizer gun, just like the Spy did. Just like the Spy did in the promotional material, Gavin. Gavin! Gavin, you have it. Gavin, you have it. It's so cool, right?
It's just blinded. You are confused. And he killed me.
Okay, to be fair, though, you know, they don't get confused.
No, not really.
Well, I mean, like, but the argument could be made from people that, well, since they're AI, they will just continue like nothing happened.
The control point is being contested.
I don't know if that's how it works, but
I'm fucked.
yeah, but have you considered 5 seconds? No. Even better, 8 seconds of bleed.
I'd rather have fucking 8 seconds of bleed than this shit. Honestly, give me fucking the bleed damage. That would do way more. That would mean my primary actually does damage. Now, with all that being said, with all those criticisms, some of you may say I'm being too harsh and that I'm just some dusty old Scrooge that can't find any joy in Smithmas. But I'll give credit where it's due. The team did manage to maintain the character of the original Team Fortress 2 nicely. It's not a complete bastardization of the game's tones, themes, and stylizations. It still keeps that early 20th century Rockwell painting feeling that makes stock TF2 so captivating on an artistic level. Albeit a bit fan-made looking, but that's to be expected. Unfortunately, the artistic level is only one layer of a game. At the end of the day, you can dress a donkey up like a unicorn, but at the end of the day, it's still an ass. Let's talk about game modes now, shall we? Classified as features multiple new game modes. The first is a 4-team mode, which includes 2 extra teams. Now, along with the red and blue team, you can have Piss and WhatsApp. And it splits a normal 24-player game into 4 teams of 6. This creates a whole bunch of problems. In the case of team recognition, a yellow player and a red player look very similar, and the same goes for blue and green. Smaller teams also put more weight onto the individual player, as well as map layouts, due to the nature of 4 teams, need to be made as squares in order to give every team a fair chance at winning. This does lead to rather bland design and overall visual clutter. Much like times 100 community servers, 4 teams is just an overstimulating mess. It's a fun novelty for about 3 minutes until it gets old. Another mode is VIP, where, similarly to Payload, you must escort the civilian to control points, typically with the endpoint being the civilian's car. Unlike Payload, the civilian is a randomly chosen player. With that being the case, the player can die, having all of your hard work be reset back to spawn. From experience, it's not as enjoyable to play as the civilian as it is to escort the civilian. At least from the first game I played as the civilian, just sort of sit back while spamming the right click to boost your teammates until they can push forward and allow you to cap the point. Or you get spawn camped and make 0 progress, which did happen to me on my first time. Visually, the civilian's really freaking good. And again, I have to say, hats off to the visual department. They managed to take a character from the classic Team Fortress and bring it into TF2's world stylization, tones. If you had showed me the civilian from TF2C, I would have totally believed that that was an official character if I had no knowledge on Team Fortress 2 at all. It's that well designed. So, new features aren't stellar. I may be able to forgive these issues. I might even recommend giving this mod at least a few hours of your time. And then they sort of decided to kill the mod. Remember that pin I told you about at the very beginning of this video? We're going back to that. Now, we touched on server verification briefly at the beginning, but to refresh your memory a bit here, a verified server is one that the devs, by no objective basis, have decided is appropriate and will have no controversy for them. Along with that, they decided to give verified servers a preferential treatment on the server browser, with a big ol' verified letters next to it, as well as being shown at the top of the server browser first. This obviously reduced visibility for smaller community servers and creates a set of cookie-cutter social server environments. So there's very little choice in where you want to go and who you want to play with. Not only that, I'm fairly certain that when this update released, it killed off 9/10 of the player traffic. Now, this could be because of, obviously, the novelty had worn off. People would naturally start going back to the base game. But there was 10,000 players on launch. You can check the Steam player counts. And then it dropped to 1,000 daily. one of my own favorite community servers to go, Arctic.tf, was just completely cut off of 60% of their own traffic as soon as that update went live. And they had to shut down. I mean, the rules they stayed out are fairly reasonable at first. Obviously, you have your no cheating, ping spoofing, or player spoofing, or pay to win. These are all well and good things, but then you start to dip into some of the more questionable things, like under the big header on their site for lacking clear and enforceable rules is rampant bigotry and hate speech. And that, I have to ask, who gets to decide that? The developers? They're not the ones paying for most of these community servers. Community servers have always been able to moderate themselves how they see fit. But the developers have decided to strangle their own mod just so they can feel good about themselves.
So you believe that it's all right to tell people what they can and cannot think? It's an irrefutable fact that violent thoughts from others can lead to violent actions.
And in the end, it just ends up ruining the fun for everyone. With all that being said, is it fun? I will say yes. However, by the end of my time, I just wanted to go back to the base game. With all of the lackluster features and the very few handful of servers that actually get somewhat populated, I find it very hard to recommend this. If you truly want the best TF2 experience, I recommend finding a vanilla community server you like in the base game. But what do you think? Did I miss something? Should I have talked about something more? Tell me down in the comments below. Oh, and I love domination, Charlie! I love domination!